And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this first Wednesday webinar of the fall semester here. We're excited. We have a lot of stuff to show you and talk about tonight. My name is Tim Brzezinski. I'm the Professional Development Director at Geogebra.
And hi, my name is Monique, and I'm the lead curriculum designer at Geogebra. And we've been working on the IM project with Geogebra Classroom for a few months now, and we're excited to hear how you're using it in your classroom so far. And we're here just to help you out because we know that this year is not the smoothest, but
Definitely
we
not.
are happy to live demo some of the features of Geogebra Classroom and just help you answer some of your questions so you can use it in your classes.
Exactly. And speaking of that, Monique, that Google form that we had sent out, actually, we can actually show some of the results here. Let me just do one thing. Let me just actually stop sharing for a second. I have to share something else. Share the entire screen. Uno momento. But right here, I think this is where people, we had asked you to vote your number one, like, what do we want to see in this webinar here? Like, I want to do. And so the top responses that we got, literally in order, just to see how many voted for it, this is what we're going to talk about tonight. For number one, we're going to create GeoGebra classes from the illustrative math, open up resources curriculum we have here. And you can see for yourself firsthand student and teacher interaction here, where you would never have to ask your students to screen share. The items are there. A quick number two, we're going to copy and edit an existing lesson because many teachers don't want to use something as it is. They want to copy it, edit it, and make it their own. We'll show you how to do that as well. That was the second most popular requested thing. Third, they want to create only one GeoGebra class, but put a bazillion lessons in there because people get sick of creating class after class after class. We'll show you how to do that. Google Classroom has been a big hot topic on social media. We'll address that later on, and also embedding. So without any further ado, let's play with GeoGebra Classroom.
Yeah, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. And for those of you who haven't even had a chance to check out GeoGebra Classroom for yourselves yet, this will show you why we're so excited about it. So on the left is I have a window open for a teacher view, and on the right will be our student view. So as a teacher, I can go to the homepage of Geogebra, geogebra.org, and I'm scrolling down to the bottom and checking out some of the classroom resources. Now, Tim and I have been working on the illustrative math curriculum, and you can click on that first thumbnail and pick your grade level and some of the lessons that you might be interested in using for your class. So I'm going to use the first unit, and I'm going to look for the lesson on parallelograms. So I'm just going to open up this page that's going to be talking about parallelograms and even the formula for area of parallelograms. So this is what the lesson looks like just straight away. And if you've been on GeoGebra before, you know that there are a lot of interactive components. Like there are questions that you can type your answers to, even applets that you can interact with. But up here in the top right, there's a button that says create a class. So I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to title it for this webinar. And there is a convenient code that you can use for your GeoGebra Classroom. I'm going to click this button up here, and you'll see that GeoGebra creates a classroom link. I can copy the link and I can share it with my student. So my student just has to go to this link.
Could we actually drop it in the? Could we drop it on the social media outlets? And if people want to join, they're more than welcome to. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right. So let's drop it in the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter thing.
It's a great idea, Tim.
We'll drop it in there. So if you want to go there, if you actually want to take what Monique is doing, if you want to squish us on one half of your screen and then go to that URL that we just posted in the social media thing on the other half of the screen, that way you can play and watch at the same time.
Yep. So as you can see, my student here from the student view, you can just have your students type in their name, but if they already have a GeoGebra account, they can sign in right here. And we have a few sign-in options. So for example, I can sign in with my Google account, or your students can sign in if they have Google accounts. And if you sign in with an account, the students' works will actually save. So I noticed in my teacher view, I have a lot of people joining my classroom.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. So I can even open up the tasks overview page and see all the tasks that are in this lesson and see that one person has started the first task. And what it means for students to be working on the tasks is, in my student view, you can see the student sees the lesson like we looked at before, and they're broken up into tasks. So for example, first task is answering a question, and they can type in an answer. So this is a typing in answer, open answer. So if I typed
you're just patient. I just type in a bunch of gibberish. There we go.
I can see, looking at the first task, some of the answers that my students have submitted. And I can get an overview of which students have worked on that task. Now let's look at a more interesting task like this one.
That one's fun. Yeah.
So this is one of the apps. And this is task 4. So corresponding task 4. I'm going to open that up.
And if you're in the class right now, if you're just joining us, feel free to look up through the social media outlets there. I don't know if it goes through on Twitter, but if you go on Facebook or Geogebra's YouTube channel, you'll find us live there as well. But the Geogebra Classroom link is in the live chat or in the Facebook post comments. Feel free to join the class and play around with task 4 here. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So as you can see, I, as a student, can be working, trying to fit the shapes in the parallelograms to reason out its area. There are even some tools that I can use and say write something. This is 1, 2, 3 units wide. Maybe I would like to fill it in with some text. There.
And again, something is going on. Again, like many people have actually, just to speak to this, because no EdTech platform is perfect. And I know many of you watching this have actually used Geogebra Classroom before. You've seen it. And even with Google, especially too, Google seems to have been on some kind of like overload in the last couple of weeks, but it's as to be expected. The internet is on overload right now. And so the server speed has been a little slower. This is very unusual, but normally you'd see a lot of tasks up there. Here's Vincent's. It's just a little slower than normal, but yeah, you will see live, and under normal circumstances, you'll see live updates every 2 to 3 seconds for all the students in that class. Okay. And Monique, that question from Taylor there: students sign in, they can stop working where they are at the end of the class and pick back up at a later time?
Yeah, they can. So why don't I show you? Say the student, like great. I was working in the middle, and I had to leave this page, and I came back to Geogebra. I can go to my profile. Check
this out. I love it.
And there it is. I can see the class again. Turn to the class. And my answer is still there. See, my answer, I typed it right here.
It took a little while, but we got some people here. We see some people working there, right? Denise, we could tell Denise already has it in. We could maybe blow up the thumbnails. And actually, Monique, would you click on Denise's thumbnail there, or Vincent's, either one of them? You click on it, you can get an up-close view of what's going on. It's pretty cool. Again, servers are a little slower than normal, but that's very atypical. But right there, hello, Secure Digital. You know what I mean? But it's like, wow, Vincent's here. Man, he's over in France. It's like 2 a.m. Got some insomnia there, Vincent. I don't know, but he's here. Welcome. But yeah, so but that's cool.
Yeah, and a few of the smaller features that you might have noticed is you can anonymize your students. So for example, I can hide their names. I can even pause the class. So if I wanted to make an announcement to the entire class, maybe address some misconceptions right away, I can do that. I can even choose to resume the class.
Oh, and as an FYI, not to interject, but if you leave it paused when students leave the class, they can't go back into it until you hit the resume again. So you can close out a class pause and nobody can get back in it at any time until you unpause it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully that'll give you a sense of how powerful Geogebra Classroom can be, and how you can come up with some ideas of how you might want to use it in your fully virtual classrooms, your in-person classes, or even hybrid.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and so with respect to Susan's question, can't figure out where to put answers to some of them. Susan, every single element that is considered a task in Geogebra Classroom, I mean, there's lots of things you could put in a Geogebra activity, but stuff that's like any kind of question, whether it's open-ended or check all that apply, or a Geogebra app, those three kinds of things will always turn into tasks here. But if there's a question, there'll always be a space. So Monique, if you go up to on the right side, if you scroll up just a little bit, obviously like here where it says type your answer here, there's always a place where you can put something there. But if you find an activity, Susan, feel free to drop it in the chat there. I'd love to see it. If you don't see it, I would love to find where it is. Cindy will talk about Google Classroom later on in the broadcast, promise. Okay. And basically there. So yeah. Anyway, so I guess we're here to talk about question number 2 now, which is, what was it again? I'm trying to think here. Copy and edit an existing lesson, right? So we, as teachers, we never really like to just use something as is. What we often want to do is simply like, take something and call it our own. Think about it, and just think about the logic here. When you get a Google Slides or a Google Doc and you have no edit access to it and you want to have a copy you could play with yourself, what's the solution? Most of you know, or it's like most of you know, you actually basically you go to File, make a copy. It's the same in GeoGebra, and we'll demonstrate right here and right now. So let me share the screen. This was the second most popular question here from the Google form survey that we did, and we'll do it right here and right now. So I have one of IM's lessons here. I think this is 616 or say 614, right? On just parallelograms here. But let's suppose teachers want to do one of two things. They want to either take a lesson and reduce it greatly, because for some students who are actually where a lot of work up front kind of makes them like a little anxious, you want to actually like take some elements out and maybe add your own in later. You can totally do that. I can't see. Am I screen sharing, Monique? I can't tell anymore.
Yes, you are.
I am. Okay, good. So right here, what you want to do in any activity that you're in, if you go to the 3 dots in the upper corner. So again, this could be done for any public GeoGebra resource, not just the IM lessons, right? But anything that's public in GeoGebra that you find, click on the 3 dots, and there it is. This is the analogy of going to Google, File, make a copy. Well, here what we're doing is we're copying this IM lesson, and we're going to make it better to better fit our students, say for tomorrow. And just like Google does, you see right up here in the upper corner, it says copy of, just like it behaves just like Google. Right? So I'll just call this a demo lesson for webinar, whatever. Use the pen tool to circle all the figures that are parallelograms. Yeah, we'll keep that. But maybe, you know what? Maybe instead of, see this element right here? Maybe I want to have a class discussion about it instead, so I don't feel like having my kids type. So if you don't want it, you can actually delete it. See the trash can right there? Hey, goodbye. Right? And so we can delete stuff. We can add stuff. Decompose and rearrange this parallelogram to make a rectangle. Ooh, hang on a second. What's going on here? Maybe if I, hang on. Wait a minute. You know what I mean? So you might find you like that. You like it. So you could take it. But then, you know what? You may find with all these things, you're looking at, you know what, I don't feel like asking this question, you know, fractions, forget it. But you might want to add something else. You see, you could take the elements that exist already, you can get rid of stuff you don't want, and you can add in your own components. And dare I say, you can actually add a component from another IM lesson. I'll show you how to do that here as well. Okay, so for adding an element, for example, there's a bunch of things you could throw in here. I can make another question, say. Again, if you didn't see that there, add element. Let me make it a little bit bigger here. Let's add a question. And just to be, it has nothing to do with the lesson. Which of the following polygons have an even number of sides? So I can make a multiple choice or open question. Now, multiple choice is check all that apply. So I could say triangle, right, at triangle, quad, pentagon. Sure, I'll finish it. And say hexagon. And obviously here there's two correct answers, right? So obviously I'll check the answers there. Now in Geogebra Classroom, they won't see that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and hit, I'll hit done right here for right now. And make that a question. And so I've added my own element to this activity here. Now I can also, now I want to show you something else here. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit. So I'm still in edit mode. As you can see, I can delete stuff. And did you also know you can clone things too? To people not aware of it, this is to edit the app itself, but probably you don't want to do that. But if you want to duplicate it, just hit the copy button and watch this. You can actually hit copy, and it makes another copy right at the very bottom. And so maybe you want to ask, and then drag it up and put it where you want. So let me drag it up a little more, a little more. There we go. So see how I have two of the same thing now? But maybe you want to ask your students to do something different in this app as you do, say, in this app. You could totally do that. Okay? And I'll show you one more thing here, because I know we have to get on to the next task here and take time for questions at the end. But I want to also show you can add another element here. So this is 614. But I'm going to steal something from 616 instead. Okay, and talking about, say, an area. Maybe I have some kids who are getting ahead or do whatever like that. I don't know. Maybe I want to take, maybe I say I want to take this this one right here, because I'm seeing students make some conceptual connections in an earlier lesson. Maybe I want to just see who can do what, you know, from something later on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually copy this URL right here. So if you ever want to take it, because I had one teacher ask me on social media once, and there's always a few teachers that ask this. They say, can I take something from like a few lessons later and throw it in something that's here already? I can say, yes, you can. Find the later lesson or any other element, copy the URL it's from, go back, I'm sorry, yeah, go back to where you were, go to add element, and then you want to add a GeoGebra app. So click GeoGebra. And what you could do under applet search, instead of searching it, if you paste it, hang on a second. If you only paste the last few digits there, I think that's what's going to make it work. Yeah. So I was wrong. I stand corrected. What you want to do, again, I understand it's not intuitive, but it's a little trick, little hack. If you copy the last string of characters right there, and then you go back to the one you're making, just paste it. And I can steal any app from that. I think it was this one right here. I can add it. And look at that. It puts it right in there. And then done. I'll save. So now I'll save and close. But now, Monique, here's my big question. Teachers ask, well, gee, Tim, where did my copy go? I made a copy of this, but where is it? Where do I find it?
Where do you find it, Tim?
Gosh, I forgot. Oh, right. You said something about a profile, right? I go back to my profile right here. Again, home page is always GeoGebra. Always go back home by going right here. And basically go to your profile. And you will find it. See it's demo lesson for webinar. Let's check it out. I remember I put two of the same thing in there. Yes, I did. My multiple choice question is there. See, check all that apply. And there it is. Of course, I would have typed directions there, but see, you can make any custom app that you want to at any time. So again, it's simply just copying, right, three dots, copy activity. You copy it, and then you edit it, and then you can make a GeoGebra class from that. So that answers the second bullet point there. Copy and
Yeah.
edit.
And I just wanted to shout out one of the comments, which is that you can edit the questions or applets that are existing. Now, usually our users would only edit the questions, say they wanted to tailor it to their students, like they wanted to use maybe their students' names or something like that to personalize the questions. And usually our users don't like to edit the applets themselves, but if you are a power user, you can edit the applets that are already there and make changes.
And Vincent is a power user, I can tell you that right now. He makes some amazing animations on Twitter. Totally. And so with Cindy X too, I want to take parts of the lesson activity, combine it with parts of the practice. You can cut and paste elements just like that. Absolutely. Now, Cindy, one thing I will show you that, Monique, 1 minute if I can go off course here just for a little bit, because this is a cool question. Cindy's not the only one I think who has this question. But basically what you can do, Cindy, and to all those who are interested in seeing this, is what you could do is go to your profile here. And you can also start from scratch. Some teachers actually like to do it like from scratch. So on your profile, if you go to create, there's a create button right over here. You go to create and create an activity. And this is like a blank Google Doc. You could say, hey, new activity. And then Cindy, you could just go to Geogebra and then paste the 7 characters from that URL. You could start making your own custom activity with your own custom questions just this way. You just keep going and going and stop when you want to. And then at the very end, you save it and close it, just like right here. And you can make your own Geogebra class literally from that. So, yeah. And I think, who is it that put it in there? I think, you know what, Greg, you must be psychic, man, because that's what Monique's talking about next.
Yeah.
Or actually, even better, one class. Actually, yours is the flip. Yes, you can. You can go to any book or activity, hit create class a million times. You'll make a billion classes for the same thing. So the answer is yes. But what Monique's going to show us now is how to make a Geogebra book with a billion activities in it. So that way we don't got to keep making class after class after class. It gets annoying for some teachers after a while. So.
All right, I'll share my screen again.
Go for it.
All right, so here is an example of a case. Maybe I have taken a look at some of the lessons and I like 6.1.1, so I'm going to open it in a new tab, and maybe I'm planning some lessons out, and I looked at 6.1.2 and I like that, and 6.1.3, and I liked a lot of the tasks, and I wanted to combine it into one entire class to share with my students.
So how exactly, I'm sorry to cut you off, but how exactly did you open a new tab? What's the trick with the mouse there?
Oh yeah, I right-clicked on,
Got it.
I hovered over the link, right-clicked it, and one of the options is to open a link in a new tab or a new window. So I'm going to keep those here, and so that I have these links handy. And I'm going to go over to my to this tab, which just so I can open it up a little wider so you can see. But I'm at the home page of Geogebra. I'm going to my profile, and I am going to create a new resource. In this case, I'm going to create a new book.
What's the difference, Monique? What's the difference between a Geogebra book versus, say, a Geogebra activity?
That's a great question. The analogy that we like to use is that an activity is like individual documents, and you can imagine the book as like a filing cabinet. So a book is a great way to collect all of your documents and place it in a place that you can access all of them, or especially to section them off. Okay. So I'll create a book. I'm going to label it a title. I'm going to go down to the bottom, hit save. All right.
So now we're editing a book. We're in book edit mode right now?
Yes, this is book edit mode right now. And we currently have an empty book. So there's nothing in it right now. And I want to fill this book up with a bunch of activities from IM, or actually how we've organized it is the IM lessons are compiled into different books themselves. So it's kind of like different levels where we compiled these documents together. So what I want to do is say I just want to add the 6.1.1 lesson in IM. So I'm going to go to Add Chapter, and I'm going to click on Existing Chapter because this we've made this wonderful resource for you. We would love for you to use it. And I'm going to go back, and I liked 6.1.1. So I'm actually going to copy this entire link up here.
URL, yep.
I'm going to, in the search bar, just paste it in there. And this is the lesson that I want to use. So I'm going to click on View Content.
So you're saying that's another book. You're looking at another file cabinet, and you're looking, and that file cabinet has two drawers, the lesson drawer and the chapter drawer? Or the
right, you can look at it this way. There's, and in here, in this one IM section, there is a lesson component and a practice component. So I'm just going to check both of these and include it. So you can see that I have imported these two parts into my book. And let's say I also wanted to combine it with 6.1.2. So I'm going to do that again. So click on Add Chapter, Existing Chapter, and I'm going to look for the 6.1.2 URL. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it into the search bar. And again, here is 6.1.2. This is the book. So I'm going to look at the content. And I'm going to check the lesson and practice components. There it is. So I have 6.1.1 lesson and practice, 6.1.2 lesson and practice. And let's do it again with 6.1.3. I'm going to add an existing chapter, paste the link in there.
So I could do this for the whole 6.1 unit, right? I could do it. It's basically an extra 10 or 12 minutes worth of work on my part, but the benefit is I don't got to make a billion classes for it.
Correct. So this is one way that you can combine all of them all together without having to create multiple classes. If that's your decision, that's what you'd like to do.
And now that since student work saves, that's kind of cool because before a couple weeks ago it wasn't saving. But since if kids log in with their, so you're saying if kids log in with their Geogebra account, they join your class, it brings them in automatically. You said using their Geogebra ID, which is awesome. And now you just make a class. So if I view that book right there, so if you go to view the book, can you view the book up there, please? Let's go look at it as
view this book. I'm actually going to open it in a new tab.
Okay. Because we have some questions here. I want to put on the thing in just a second. We'll get to the questions. We promise. Cool.
So you can see all of the contents that we're looking at, the lesson and practice components. And just as a heads up, you can also, from this edit book page, you can rearrange the order. Maybe, for example, I decided I don't want to have the practice components, so maybe I'll remove it here.
So a teacher can make a class for only the lesson parts, and the same teacher can make a different class for the practice parts. I mean, if you want to do that, you could do that too.
Yeah. So this is one way that you can customize this book for your class, whatever your use case happens to be.
Got it. All right, so let's take a look at these some of the questions here. When you create a book but only want students to look at one chapter at a time without going ahead without your instruction, can you lock the chapters ahead? Taylor, that is a great question. So you're asking if we can pace, if I interpret that correctly. At the moment, no, but Geogebra is very well aware that that is a coveted feature within this platform, and so what I can tell you is that they're aware of it, and when they're aware of something like this and a lot of teachers want it, it's been requested a lot, then they're very good at meeting requests, I'll tell you that. So right now we can pause. You know what I mean? We can pause. That freezes everything. But in terms of pacing, that is a feature that is currently being worked on, but it's not quite here yet. That's a great question. In the meantime, if you could always break it up into two, like a class for 6.1 through 6.3 or whatever here, you could do that too. But again, maybe not the most efficient way. Every teacher has their own way of doing things. So, but you do have a lot of options there for sure. Let's see. What if I only want students to have access? That's the same question there, right? So we just answered that. Here's an interesting question from Cindy. How does that help you make multiple classes? I got 6 periods. That's a great question. I mean, if you have 6 periods, I guess my recommendation, Cindy, again, I'm not saying this is what you should do, but I'm just saying one thing you can do as a teacher is to do what Monique just showed you. Let's say you take all of 6-1 through 6-1-12, what I don't know how many lessons there are in the whole 6-1 thing, but you can make one big GeoGebra book from that. And then you could hit the create class button 6 times to make 6 different classes for your 6 different periods, and each student only joins one class. Okay, so Monique, can you demonstrate here? Can you create class for a second?
Yeah.
Please, yes. So Cindy, here's what you could do. Hit create class, and let's call it period 1 for the heck of it. Now create. Right, so Monique is creating her period 1 class with all those rich, engaging IMOUR tasks right there, right? In lesson 6-1 and 6-1 through 6-3. But now, can you go back to go to the 3 dots there? You can go to view the original. Mm-hmm. That's a little trick to actually get you back to where you came from there. Doesn't open a new tab quite yet, but then hit create class again. Now we're going to make a brand new class, let's say for period 2, and so on and so forth. So Monique now has 2 different classes. But each of those huge books that were made in the classes contains all the rich content for all the students to work in. But one period students joins one class, period 2 joins the class you just made, if that makes sense. Okay. Mm-hmm. But yes.
And then I can show you like in the profile. What you'll see. Yep. Mm-hmm. So what you'll see and how it's organized is you have a book. So that's the book that contains all the lessons that we put together. And you'll see these 2 classes, which are for your individual periods.
Right. And Taylor asks, are you able to share the pre-made book with another teacher? Absolutely. If Monique wants to share that book with me, all she needs to do is just go to it or just click on it and just say she can share it that way, or just basically go to the URL, copy the link, and she can give it to me. You know, that's the easiest way. To follow up Taylor's question, can you continue to edit a book once students have started? Yes, and this is the one thing I love. You don't have to make a brand new class every time you change something in a book and have a classmate from it. That's a beautiful feature. But all you'd have to do is go back to the book. So see how Monique is in her book right now. Let's suppose she wants to add the 614s to it. So what she would have to do is actually, can you exit out of that window, Monique? Because most teachers probably wouldn't have that open. I know we did for the webinar's sake.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's cool. That's all right. Yeah. So what you want to do is go to the 3 dots in the upper corner. Okay, we'll go to the profile.
Okay. Yeah. I just like the profile to show.
No, that's good. It's a good habit to get into.
But we've seen the profile page many times. Let's show what happens when we're at the book already. So like, let's say a teacher has shared this, or let's say that you have created this book and you were sharing it with teachers. So you're at this book link.
Yep.
So like Tim was saying, 3 dots.
Edit book. And you know what? Here's the beautiful thing, Laura. You know what? Let's suppose if she adds 614 in there, let's suppose she adds a ton more. You know what? When the students go to their class, they're going to see more tasks in than the day before they had it. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to create activity. You don't have to create class after class after class just because you added one more thing in the book. It's beautiful. Okay. Totally.
Yeah. So to answer that question previously about pacing, this is one way to pace. If you just add the lessons, you can't lock it. You can't add it all at once and then lock it. But say you wanted to make something more visible, then you can add it to an existing book.
Okay. Let's see here. Those are great questions, Taylor. Is there a way to edit the questions to grade itself? No. Because this is really more about Geogebra Classroom. The purpose and the true thematic heart of it is really formative assessment way more than summative. When we talk about questions like these automated feedback kind of things, that's more along the lines of summative assessment, right, wrong, true, false, that kind of thing. But even like open-ended questions. But this whole, think of Geogebra Classroom as more of like a live lesson. You know what I mean? That you and students are working on in real time. Kids don't have to share their screens because you can see all the thumbnails changing, responses coming in. It's beautiful. You can have that it empowers the teacher to talk with the students and not to them, all right, which is really effective. But most importantly, this whole platform, this whole just the nature of the IM and OUR curriculum, the great curriculum it is in and of itself, fosters active student-centered learning where they embrace that productive struggle. So having an automated true, false, yes or no, that's something like another ed tech company kind of does, or testing, ETS testing service kind of thing, if that makes sense. But definitely not a summative nature at all, to answer the question there. Cindy asks, is there a way to see just one student's progress at a time? That feature, Geogebra. So basically, Monique, if you go back to the class for a second there, I know exactly what you're saying, Cindy. A lot of teachers I've seen on social media have asked this question, because right now when you go back to the class, you see all the tasks on the left. But what a teacher wants to see, I want to see my students on the left. I click on a student and I want to see what they've done up to. All right. Geogebra is it is from what I understand, it is on the roadmap. Not a matter of if, but it's just a matter of when. So again, that's great news. So basically, stay tuned for changes. I mean, again, platforms get better and better over time. So it's this is not a finished product by any means, for sure. So there we go.
Tim, would you like to show the next topic?
Yeah, Google Classroom. I love the questions here. So really quickly, Julie, students need to create Geogebra accounts in order to have their work saved in Geogebra Classroom. That is a must. With Google Classroom, it's not a must, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate right now. Right here, right now. So let me share my screen, and we'll rock and roll with Google Classroom. That has been a really hot topic lately, so we're going to talk about it. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to squish it over here. So just like Monique had before, I'm going to actually have this teacher view on the left and the student view on the right. Okay, so I'm in a Google Classroom class. This is student Jack Frost here, the dummy Google account that I created here for this illustration. And basically over here, I'm the teacher. So now let me actually take this and go to here. And now I will tell you this. This actually gave some teachers headaches on social media. All right, I'll tell you this right now, that when you create a Google Classroom assignment from a Geogebra activity, you can only do it from an activity itself. So in essence, as Monique said, this is a Geogebra book. Again, this whole lesson is in the form of a Geogebra book. It's got 2 chapters in it. There's a lesson chapter with a lesson activity in it, and there's a practice chapter here with the practice here. Now, what you want to make sure you do not have this highlighted. If you're a Google Classroom user and you want to only work in Google Classroom, make sure when you do the sharing, you're not here. Because if you do it from here with this highlighted, you won't get the turn-in button to show up. You can only, at the moment, you can only do it for either a lesson, you can only do it for an activity. So I'm going to actually choose this activity here. And so what I'm going to do is, let me just go here for a second. Let me just get there. Actually, no, I'm going to keep it there. There we go. We'll go back to Jack in a second. All right. So I'm going to go ahead to the 3 dots in the upper corner there. I'm going to share right here, the caret, and I'm going to choose Google Classroom. Now, by doing that, you're going to see a pop-up, a little pop-up come up. And if you're doing this, teachers, for the very first time, beware. Teachers like, it's great out here. I can't get to link. Well, if that happens, there's a pop-up that's often blocked, like for the first time. So you have to allow pop-ups from Geogebra. Okay, you do that once, you're set for life. All right. So now and then basically you're going to get the allow questions, because Geogebra theoretically, legally cannot access your Google Classroom unless you give it permission. So you have to hit allow once or twice, but once you do, it links up. These are my Google Classroom classes. So I'm going to choose the class that Jack Frost is in, and I could say, hey, do now, please, exclamation mark. I might be answering a question someone else is about to type. So right now, by hitting assign, it's going to assign it to everybody. Coming soon, I can't predict when. There is a ticket in the works for a save as draft option, because teachers may want to create it ahead of time but not want to assign it and have a student get a notification, ding, you know what I mean? There is a save as draft button coming. There's no need for us to schedule here. We're not going to put a scheduling option here, because that's what Google Classroom does. Let Google do what Google does well. All right, but there will be a save this draft option coming soon. Again, not a matter of if, but when. But I'm going to sign it. All right. And again, Google's been on overload lately. Google Drive was down, I think, a week ago, day after Labor Day. But I can open the assignment right here. So I'm going to open it as a teacher. There it is. And so check it out. The student, let me just get out of here. The student, Jack Frost, is on the right. The teacher's on the left. And let's see what's going on here. Classwork. Oh, hey, look at this. I got something to do. Let's click it. See how it says do now, please? That's exactly what I typed in right there. There's my assignment, right? And now I can actually click, I can actually go here and click on it. Now, teachers who use Google Classroom, again, if you've been getting some headaches, some of you have been getting headaches here. Again, Google's been having some workflow issues. Again, remember, it's on overload. Everybody's almost more people than usual are doing this whole virtual learning thing. So it's under a lot of stress lately. Sign in. You got to sign in as Jack Frost yet again. Now, teachers, big red flag right here. Make sure before your students start working in here, have each student go down to the very bottom to see if there is a turn in button. Notice right here, I don't have a turn in button right now. And I've answered this question on social media like probably countless numbers of times, and I made a quick 2-minute video as to like how to do this. But if you do not see a turn in button, you want to make sure that there is one there so that you have you don't have headaches later. So the trick is click on the letter you see. All right, see how the J for Jack Frost there? If I click on that letter, Jack's got to sign in one more time. And check it out. Now there's a turn in button right there. Okay. But the beautiful thing here is that because the thing is, if Jack starts working if there's not a turn in button there, if you don't see it and Jack starts working for 20 minutes and it's like, oh crap, there's no turn in button, and then some of that work could be lost. Again, Geogebra is aware of the workflow issue. They're looking at it from their end. And if there's anything, they will work on it. But there is also some Google end issues that's beyond Geogebra's control as well. But the relationship here is the connection between Geogebra and Google Classroom is strong. It's just that for now, for a temporary period of time, you as a teacher with your students just got to make sure that you want that turn in button to appear. All right. So now watch this. I'm actually going to, as Jack Frost, I'm going to do some work. This question asks students to make like a tessellation. So I'm going to use the rigid polygon tool to do that. But look at this. So I did some work, right? And I can actually move it there. But notice here, teachers, Jack did not turn it in yet. Again, we're talking formative assessment. I, the teacher, should be able to, in theory, look at Jack's work at any time. So let's go to student work. Well, again, the trick here is go to all students. All right, we go there. Look at that. Now, if you don't see that thumbnail right away, Geogebra, try refreshing once or twice. Again, Google is on overload right now. You got to be patient. Everyone has to be. So we click on Jack Frost. I'm the teacher looking at Jack's work, and even though he has not turned it in yet, look at this. Scroll down. There's his work. Nice. I love it. And you want to know what? Let's look at this side by side now and check it out. I'm gonna actually make one. Let's make a triangle here. Okay, Jack just did one more thing. Now, it's unlike Geogebra Classroom. Google Classroom is not going to do that, but you have to refresh it here. Let's see what happens. See it? Let's do something else. Let's type in a message. Hi, Mr. or Mrs. Teacher, exclamation mark, right? And then the message is there. See there? Now I'm going to go here, refresh one more time. Any changes that Jack makes, if you, the teacher, refresh it, want to see it quickly, it didn't do work that time. Sometimes it takes 5 to 10 seconds, but it will eventually, there it is, see it? It will eventually show. So that is the workflow connection between Geogebra and Google Classroom. And teachers, with this LMS of Google Classroom, your students, in theory, do not need Geogebra accounts. If you want to live in Google Classroom this way, you totally can, without the need for students needing to create a Geogebra account. But again, if you want the benefit of Geogebra Classroom, of course, you definitely do need a Geogebra account for sure. All right, so that's what I could say, at least for that point right there. Any questions? I know we have one more thing. We have to talk about embedding at the end. That's the last topic there, but let's see here.
Megan asked the question. I noticed that when I assigned assignments with Google Classroom, students can return to the work after turning it in. Was that a glitch, or is that how it's set up right now?
Oh, good point. They could. It might have been a glitch, but I noticed something different in Google Classroom. Let me actually share my screen again. That's a very good point. Hang on. This might be the issue here. Hang on a second. Let me go back to Google Classroom. Here it is. All right, teacher, student. Now, let's suppose I'm Jack Frost again, right? And I'm going to leave my Google Classroom class. All right, I'm just going to get out of here totally and whatever. Now I'll go back to classroom.google.com. Classroom, whoops, hang on a second, wrong one. It's the wrong user. Hang on a second. Jack Frost got to get back in there. All right, now let's say Jack Frost gets to this later. Oh, there's the sign my teacher, right? Classwork, whatever, the stream, tying the plane. Now, teachers, here's a big thing that I saw. There was a kind of a change. I think it was more of a Google thing than a GeoGebra thing for sure. But if Jack clicks on this, it's good. Jack, if you click on this right here, it's going to be a blank canvas. What you really want to do is go to View Assignment, and see here, the work that Jack did is actually here. But if Jack clicks this, it's a blank. And that was actually causing some teachers problems. And again, that workflow from Google, like all of a sudden changed like after Labor Day. I'm like, what's this? What? And I remember having a talk with Dwayne Habaker, from California. We explored that issue together. And again, that was new to me. I had never seen that before. But see, that now is, again, Jack could try to make sure the turn button is there. Jack Frost, click his letter. There it is. And now, lo and behold, there it is. But now there's actually two. Jack's like, oh my gosh, my work isn't showing. Where'd it go? Well, the reality is Jack's work has been there all along. His work was really right here. If I click on where it says your work, but I didn't turn it in yet. Sign in. Yes. See, that was the work that Jack did already. So the trick is, to answer your question, don't click on the blank thumbnail here. What you want to do is go to View Assignment and always have the student go to your work, and that's where they can pick up exactly where they left off. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the answer to that question there.
One more question about Google Classroom.
Yep.
From Cindy. After sharing to Google Classroom, can I copy and paste the assignment link into other classrooms, or can I reuse that post from my other 5 periods?
What you have to do, Cindy, is simply do the share thing 5 times. It would be nice when that little pop-up box from Geogebra comes up. It'd be nice to have a little checkbox and do like this. Again, not there, but it's literally like, it's probably a minute and a half more of work per each time you do it. Annoying, I get it, but it's doable. But at the moment, the answer would be no. It'll just be an extra minute work. Sorry, but the benefit you get from that, I mean, I think far outweighs the that 1 minute annoyance there. But I totally understand. It would be cool for sure. All right, so another question. I know there's other things too, but I want to show people how to embed, get some HTML code and put it in other LMSs other than Google Classroom. The connection between Geogebra and Google Classroom is a nice one, but with Canvas, Schoology, Moodle, you name it, there's others. Maybe your Google Sites classroom page, you want to take a Geogebra app and embed it right in that page. You can do that. We'll show you how right here and right now. But what you want to do first is go to, I'm going to drop the URL in here. Just let me find it first. Actually, give me a second here. Where'd it go? And by the way, this whole thing, we're going to share with you at the very end what we're looking at right here. We got a lot of resources here that sums it right up. Am I screen sharing or no?
No, you're not.
I'm sorry. I thought I was. Let me share my screen here. All right. Let's rock and roll. All right. So here. All right. So right here, all the apps from IMOUR can be found here. So what do you mean by that? I'm going to take this and Monique, if I could, let me just give it to you here. Stop sharing. Let me go back to it. I'm going to put it right here in the all here. So I'll say all IMOUR. Coming in the chat right now on all 3 platforms. Be on the lookout. 6 to 8 apps right here. It's coming. There it is. All right. So basically, right there, that link will take you right here. So that's all the apps in 6, 7, and 8 all together. Okay. So right there, you can take this app. See how like basically you see here, this is just that app right there, more red, green, or blue. This looks familiar. This looks familiar, right? This is all the individual ones. But let's suppose I want to take this one here and I want to embed it in Canvas. How do I do that? Well, that's a great question. Find the app you want from here. And what you want to do, again, the method of doing this is not intuitive. I totally understand that. But there is a way. I'm going to show you here. So find the app you want from that URL I just gave. You want to go here to the 3 dots, and you want to go to the details page. Okay, that gives you specs about that app there, the details. Let's go to details and see. It's like you get the view, number of views, all sorts of things. But right here, far off in the far right corner, kind of hiding, there's a little share button. If you press on that, go right to where it says embed. There's the HTML right there. You can copy it. Copy it all right there. It's copied. Now I'm going to go to Canvas. Again, you Canvas people know exactly. You know it better than I do, that's for sure. But if I go to the rich HTML or rich content editor there, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. But go back here. Let's see. See how it's embedding it right in there? So now I can actually build my assignment with that built right within. Okay, and you can add your questions and do whatnot you want. In Schoology, it looks like this. So embedding GeoGebra content right here. Whoops. And so now I have a couple things here, but I can add materials. You Schoology users know exactly what I'm doing. Just go there and let's go to add. You want to go to add file link external tool there. Okay, so let's do that. Link, paste in that URL. Give it a title, hey, GGB app. And then you can add it. Now, granted, I did not create this. You could create an assignment and actually have that be an attachment to the assignment, like, you know what I mean? But look at this. If I do that, see how it embeds beautifully right there in Schoology. I can play with it and work with it within my Schoology course. So teachers, it came across on social media. I've seen a bunch of questions like this because teachers whose administrations require them to use Canvas or Schoology, say, or even Moodle, they're asking me, Tim, I see GeoGebra Google Classroom where all student work saves in Google Classroom. Is that possible to also happen in Canvas? And can it happen in Schoology or Moodle or whatever? At the moment, no. But GeoGebra, has been looking at the roadmap for the next year or two, and integration within various learning management systems, LMSs, is something that is of very high priority to them. So I can assure you it's on the radar, but it's just a matter of time. So again, I taught high school math 15 years, and so like my administration, my last school required us to use Schoology. Schoology for posting your assignments, you got to put X, Y, and Z. Fine, and again, I would never ever encourage anyone to be insubordinate. So I use Schoology the way I was supposed to, but at the same time, it is okay to post in this case here. If I was still in the classroom full time, I would create a GeoGebra class, say, and give my students the GeoGebra Classroom link and drop it in Schoology or Canvas. Students click on it when they log in to Canvas or Schoology. They go to a new tab in GeoGebra, and their work saves in GeoGebra, provided they have an account. You know what I mean? But some teachers tend to be like, I just want to live in my LMS. Well, I get that, but at the same time, if the Google Classroom heaven is not there for other LMSs yet, it's just a matter of patience, I guess. But it's okay to actually drop links. Do what you have to do in the LMS you have, but it's okay to actually link to other sites and new tabs for sure. And to be able to do something like that, I think would be a good workflow. Because honestly, I've seen teachers trying to like create everything in Canvas where they write their questions, they embed the apps, and it ends up being hours more work. And just, let me just give them a GeoGebra Classroom link, plop it in there, and just have kids go. It's a lot easier that way. Okay. But what other questions we have?
Yeah, we have some time for questions. So if you have questions for us, please feel free to comment. We're looking at all of the social media sites that we're streaming to, so please comment. There is a set of questions that I did want to address. One of the questions is, will GeoGebra eventually add the OUR cooldowns? And another one that is related that I can answer is, are other IM courses in the works, like Algebra 1 or the accelerated courses for 6, 7, 7, 8? To address both of those questions, currently we're still in the process of working through 6, 7, and 8. So we're not working on the cooldowns, those assessments. We're not working on other courses at the moment. We would like to work on them in the future, and we're currently considering where that might be, if that will be on a roadmap. But the more positive feedback we get on this, the more reason we have to continue working on it. So yeah, please continue giving feedback, sharing with your coworkers, friends, and anyone who might have students or kids who could benefit from this curriculum.
And again, the heart, and again, complimenting what Monique said, it's like, GeoGebra's intent in doing this when we started this project back in July. Again, GeoGebra was looking at the the needs and say, like, you know what, there are teachers who are stuck teaching 100% remotely, and it's difficult. It really is hard. And then you have the hybrid models where half the students are home and half the students are in the building to reduce the population density and to make sure kids are at least 6 feet apart. And it's like, okay, what we do there. But here, GeoGebra's intent was to, again, GeoGebra's heart in doing all of this was not to make anything better than the great curriculum that IM OUR has already. Our intent at GeoGebra was really to make it 100% digitally accessible because of the COVID-19 situation. That was really the heart's intent in doing all of that. So again, as a full-time teacher, I emphasize, student discovery using paper just as much as I do, with tech as well too. Paper should never go out the window. So for teachers that have hybrid models, you can definitely use, for example, those the IM workbooks. Have the students who are in the class, working with it hands-on with the paper, while the students at home are interacting 100% yet in a digital fashion. But you as a teacher have pedagogically have the advantage of formatively assessing the students who are home and the students who are using paper, because it's hard, showing up, hold up the paper to the screen, show me what you drew the rectangle as an area of 12. Let me see. It's more difficult, but on the GeoGebra grid right in front of you with the thumbnails, you could see it without any screen sharing. It's very quick. It's very nice. Again, our goal is not to make it better, because it's great. It's a great curriculum. Our goal was to reiterate, make it 100% digitally accessible, which is why we did it.
So yeah, one of the best ways to interact with us is on social media. So if you are posting on Twitter or Facebook, definitely tag us, and we like to see all of the wonderful things that wonderful ways that you've used GeoGebra in your classroom, all of the ways that this curriculum is helping you out in whatever classroom format it is. We'd love to hear about it.
Definitely. And I saw a question about Nearpod. What was it here? Again, with the HTML, I've never done it, but I think I've seen if you look on social media, especially Twitter, I think I've seen other people do it. Just look up, at GeoGebra, at Nearpod. Again, there's so much out there to learn. It's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? It can overwhelm. It can make you anxious, but one thing at a time. GeoGebra Classroom, very easy to use, as Monique showed you before. And again, a lot of these things, if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chats there. You can always email me. It's tim@geogebra.org. As professional development director, I work, part of my day is always spent helping teachers out on social media with a lot of questions. So let me know. And so definitely you can always email, I'll put in there as well. But Monique has done an amazing job. She is the one who led the authoring team in all this. So all the credit for for it being done and way ahead of schedule, all the credit there goes to her. So big round of applause for Monique. I'm excited to have a colleague here in the U.S.
Here is a question that I think will just.
This one? Oh, you got it. You just took it off. Yeah.
Is there a way to give feedback to kids on each task within Google Classroom? You want to take this one, Tim?
Sure. Now there is, and that's what Google Classroom is for. Private comments. You can leave kids private comments in Google Classroom using the private comment feature. See teachers do it all the time, and it's a great way to communicate with students all the time when you have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Kayla, you're very welcome. And Kayla, right there, there is a link there. If you go to Geogebra's YouTube page, it'll be right there. It'll be on our Facebook page profile, on Periscope Twitter. If you go to Geogebra Twitter, you'll see it. Probably the first thing there, since Geogebra I don't think has retweeted anything in this time. But it'll always be there on all 3 social media platforms. And every webinar we do from this point on will always be simulcasting, broadcasting live to all 3 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So it's all there.
Yeah. So definitely share this webinar with anyone who you think might benefit from it.
All right. So thanks so much for joining. We'll definitely let you know when the next one comes out, because there's a lot of exciting things going on at Geogebra, and we're excited to share some stuff coming with you. And yeah, so have a great evening. If you're on the other side of the world, have a great day, and we'll catch you back here next time. Bye.
Thank you.